Hello everyone, my name is Wafer Laimot, and today I will present you the case of the Uber drivers who want to be considered as workers. Indeed, the company didn't want the drivers to have the worker status. We're going to explore this case together. Let's go! First, we're gonna see the work conditions of the drivers. The Uber drivers have to work to 5 to 7 days a week within 8 hours of work per day. Most of the drivers decide to work through the Uber applications because there are not too many employees. In surveys, the drivers have a rational margin of 4.1, saying that they don't want to be employees. 88% of the Californian drivers thought like this because they can choose when and where to work. 68% of them said that they would stop working with Uber if they lost their freedom. If Uber applies the full-time employment job and not the part-time job anymore, 76% of the drivers will be out. The beginning of the conflict was brought by the former of the Uber drivers, Yassin Aslam and James Farrow, that complained about how they work. It happened in 2016 with an employment tribunal in London for the workers' rights. It went directly to the Supreme Court. All of the 6 judges approved a groundbreaking employment tribunal against Uber. The company tries to defend itself from the employment responsibilities pronounced by the judges, but it has been rejected. Mr. Aslam advanced that the Uber rules obligated him to leave the trade as he couldn't make the ends meet. He is upset that the ruling took so long. With the COVID-19, Mr. Farrow points out with fares down 80%, a lot of drivers have been struggling financially and feel trapped in the Uber system. We are seeing many of our members earning £30 gross a day right now, he said, explaining that the self-employment grant issues by the government only cover 80% of a driver profits, which isn't enough to pay for their costs. If we have these rights today, those drivers could at least earn a minimum wage to live on, said Mr. Farrow. Uber has made an initial public offering stated that we believe that drivers are independent contractors because, among other things, they can choose whether, when, and where to provide services on our platform, are free to provide services on our competitors' platforms, and provide a vehicle to perform services on our platform, said the IPO document. Meanwhile, there was also a warning. Nevertheless, we may not be successful in defending the independent contractor status of drivers in some or all jurisdictions. Furthermore, the costs associated with defending, settling, or resolving pending and future lawsuits, including demands for arbitrations, related to the independent contractor status of drivers could be material to our business, said the IPO document. In December 2018, the UK Supreme Court reinforced a previous rule from the Philadelphia District Judge about the drivers that they should be classified as workers and not as contractors. In March 2019, the company made a step forward in 2 class action cases. They invest $20 million into the drivers in California and Massachusetts states. Otherwise, there were no arbitration agreements, and they sought damages for an error of independent contractor misclassifications, declared the IPO document. Uber was in conflict with the employees' court cases in several countries. In March 2019, the Paris Court of Appeal said that now the Uber drivers have to have a work contract, what the company said they see that drivers such as contractors, whereas are employees. In the UK, the drivers in the ride-hailing businesses have been considered for 6.4% of all the gross bookings during the 4th quarter of 2020. A source from Uber declared that this could raise the Uber cost by 20%. But if there is a rise of 20% in the full cost of a ride, this will eventually be passed to the customers anyway. This question is very simple. It is because the drivers will obtain more rights with a minimum wage, but not as much as an employee. They will also gain day holiday and employment protections. Uber is setting the price, the contracts, and the drivers can't arrange anything. When the drivers connect on the application, they represent Uber and not themselves anymore. Uber is setting up the request, the customer satisfactions, and the rules in general. The drivers have always been viewed as in a position of subordination and dependency in the relation to the company. Gig economy shows a free market system where organizations and independent workers engage in short-term work arrangements. The gig economy had also gained without the driver-worker status. They had no additional cost, it was all on the ride-hailing customer accounts. The lawyers Leith Day, which has fought for the half of GMB, affirmed that tens of thousands received an average of £12,000 of damages. In October 2016, the Central London Employment Tribunal ruled in GMB's favour. Uber did not agree on the decisions of the judgment. The company put the case and the ride-sharing company upon the Employment Tribunal in 2017. In the UK, pension provision is largely delivered through the workplace, and the self-employed, including the gig workers, are excluded from the government flagship auto-enrollment policy. This reclassification is another step towards opening the doors to auto-enrollment for all the gig workers, giving them the opportunity to save for retirement with the important boost of the right to a 3% employer pension contribution. Stated by Uber. Tom Vickers is a senior lecturer in sociology at Nottingham Trent University and leader of the Work Future Research Group, which studies the jobs that people do and how they change over the time. He thinks the Supreme Court ruling has wider implications for a lot of other gig economy workers like private hire drivers, couriers, and delivery drivers. The central point for me is that the ruling focuses on the control that companies exercise over people laborers. This control also carries with it responsibilities for their conditions and well-being. Rachel Mathieson, senior associate at Bates Wells, which represented the party of Mr. Farrar and Mr. Aslam, said her firm's position was that the ruling applies to drivers who have been active with Uber since and including 2016. Our position is that the ruling applies to all of the drivers, Rachel Mathieson declared. However, on the other hand, Dr. Alex Wood, an Internet Institute researcher associate on the gig economy at Oxford University, disagrees. He told the BBC that because the UK doesn't have a labour inspectorate, these rules are enforced and it falls to workers to bring subsequent tribunals. This means that, in reality, it's very easy for Uber to just change your dates until more tribunals come for the remaining 40,000 drivers. Starbucks is the company that proposed the most flexible part-time jobs. Even if there are rules or obligations like serving every client, the employees could leaving their post to take a walk and come back whenever they want. The company and the contract will not allow it because under the law, both parties have been engaged. Why is it not occurring? Simply because the companies will not survive in terms of economy. They have to frame or supervise the employees correctly. Applying to these Uber drivers to a classic restaurant, there could be a unique and only one server serving 100 customers, or the inverse, 100 waiters serving only one customer. But whatever the situation, the employees will receive a salary anyway. The CEO Dawa Kawashashi wrote to the Supreme Court, "We could have continued to dispute drivers' rights to any of these protections in court. Instead, we have decided to turn the page." Mr. Aslam said, "It took 6 years to establish what we have got in 2015. Someone somewhere in the government or the regulator massively let down these workers, many of whom are in precarious situations." After a 5 years legal battle described by the union GMD as historic, the two initiators went to a world where the drivers are considered as workers through the app and on the legal statement of the company. The company in return gets a heavy compensation bill and has wider impacts for their gig economy. Thank you guys for your attention.